Carl. This you? Yes, sir. I'm ready.
Let the record show that the Plaquemines Port and Harbor Terminal District meeting began at 3 o'clock sharp.
Yeah, it's on now. No.
All right. All right. Commissioner McCarty?
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. We come before you, Almighty God, in heaven, acknowledging the holiness of your name. We thank you for your bountiful blessings, especially for our parish's natural resources. We give thanks to you for our brave and courageous men and women in our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedoms. We also pray for our country and our world leaders to know how to obtain lasting peace. We humbly thank you for granting us your knowledge and wisdom to this government body, comprised of both council and Parish President Hinckley and his administration, that we will always serve our people of our parish with honesty, humility, and equality to all. And as the government body gathers here today, we pray for the wisdom to know what is right from wrong and the courage to do that which is right. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Thank you.
Amen.
Pledge by Commissioner Newsom.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have to, a motion to suspend the order of business so that we can go into executive session. I so offer.
2A, discussion of litigation in accordance with LRS 4417A2 in regard to Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District et al. Versus Sustainability Partners LLC et al. Docket number 76739, Division B, 25th Judicial District Court, Parish of Plaquemines, State of Louisiana.
So offered.
And this is for suspension only
Yep.
right now that we're
We
voting.
need a vote to suspend the rules. Second. Let the record show that we have an 8-0 vote.
Now you read it again.
Discussion of litigation in accordance with LRS 4417A2 in regard to Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District et al. Versus Sustainability Partners LLC et al. Docket number 76739, Division B, 25th Judicial District Court, Parish of Plaquemines, State of Louisiana.
Need a second? So offered by Commissioner Kogovich, seconded by Commissioner Jurisic. Machine's open. Okay, let the record show we're going to go into an executive session at 3:04 PM. The executive session has ended. No votes or determinations were made. We will proceed.
Item 3, status report by the Executive Port Director.
Thank you. And give a Baton Rouge update. Starting off, today officially ends this session. We had the two bills that did ultimately pass. Senator McMaster's bill passed Saturday, which creates a statewide port strategic plan, and it will have a board that will be assigned under a commissioner that will be equivalent to the Commissioner of Multimodal. And that board will consist of 3 ports, 1 deep water port, 1 inland port, 1 coastal port, 2 non-governmental organizations, and two legislators. As it stands right now, if it goes into effect, it will go into effect July 2024. Senator Connick's bill was amended in conference and actually passed today around 1 o'clock. That is a state-mandated, it's a Port Southeast Advisory Committee, and it will include executive directors from the 5 deep water ports, and it will also go into effect in July of next year. And I can tell you that I had a conversation with Senator Connick last week, and one of the things that he shared with me was that our legislators are just really looking for a statewide mission plan type, and he shared the example of the Texas 2024-2025 mission port plan, and that's what they're looking for from us. So I think if there was a silver lining in the legislation that we dealt with during this session, was that all of the ports actually came together. There was a lot of communication, a lot of collaboration, and I think we're going to continue with that momentum. So I think that's a positive thing. Representative Wright had a bill to create a Louisiana Port Authority, and it looks like that bill did not pass. As of 3 o'clock today, it had not made it to the floor, so we do not believe that that bill is going to pass. Again, the session is over tonight. Melissa and I have spent a lot of time in Baton Rouge over the last 8 weeks, and so we're happy that at least things will calm down a little bit. On the federal side, we did receive a report from Senator Venner, our lobbyist, that the Majority Leader Scalise received confirmation from the Corps of Engineers that they'll spend up to $50 million on the Point Celeste pump station, and it looks like that funding could take place as early as next year. We've already had conversations with the Corps of Engineers, and we're trying to put them in contact with the Corps of Engineers here locally, and we're trying to put them in contact with Senator Scalise's office. The last thing on the Baton Rouge side is that we did receive, as a result of all of this legislation, a audit request from the legislative auditors, and we have all of the ports, all 34 registered ports in PAL, and the initial thought was it was a short audit, that it should take half an hour to an hour to complete, but it's very extensive, and we're about 2 weeks in. They've extended the deadline, and though it's a very detailed audit of what we do, I think it's a good drill, because it's really forcing us to really look at all aspects of our business. So we'll be complete with that by Monday or Tuesday of next week, and we'll provide a copy of it to the council. Okay, on the project side, finances first. We have begun our 2022 audit, and the auditors are in the office as we speak, and we anticipate that we'll be done by June 30th. I'd like to talk about the piano keys a little bit. I know we've, ever since I've been on board, we've been slowly acquiring properties in the piano key area, and I'd just like to, remind the council that, the port had a strategy a couple of years ago to become a landlord port, And, we've already acquired 3 separate parcels, and this is just kind of an add-on, to finishing off parcel 4. We have two properties that will be purchased that are to be voted on today. We're complete. We have one more that's in discussion, and then we have an additional 6 properties that we're continuing to try to make advances with the owners of those properties. But it is very important for us as a port authority and as a new landlord port authority, to own land to be able to expand our business for economic development for the port. Moving to the market analysis, we have started the market analysis. We're having weekly Teams calls, and it's gotten off to a really good start, and I'll share some initial details at the port chair meeting next week. Moving on to the water booster station, we have one item to be voted on today on the water booster station for the port to go out and seek bids to build the water booster station, and we're gonna defer that to next week because we've had to include in the introductions the same thing from DOTD, and essentially DOTD has to have this legislation that requires certain procedures for us here in the parish and at the port to follow. So we will see that we're going to defer the port's ordinance for going out for bids to the next council meeting, and then we will pair those two together at that time. And just some general thoughts on what this water booster station is going to do. As of right now, what I'm told is that it is going to provide up to 80 psi of pressure, down towards Port Sulphur, and there's discussion about keeping the Port Sulphur plant in place and doing some other things with that to ensure that we have proper water pressure, through all of this port expansion as well as south, of Port Sulphur. RV park. We've talked about the growth with the port. I'd like to just point out that we probably have south of 4,000 construction workers in the parish today. And we know that that's going to grow to over 7,000 by the end of next year. So a lot of growth. I mean, this is not necessarily a bad thing, because what it's doing for the parish is it is increasing, lease tax revenue. It's increasing sales tax revenue, and it's obviously helping the port to grow. We anticipate here at the port, last year we handled 47 million tons. This year we're on a trend to handle about 53 million tons. In 2025, we anticipate that we will be handling somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 to 85 million tons. So what does that mean? Well, today, last year, at the end of last year, we were about the number 12th tonnage port in the United States. If we hit that forecast of 85 million tons, we're going to be somewhere around number 4 or 5 tonnage ports in the United States. What that does for the state of Louisiana, today, 3 of the top tonnage ports in the United States are from Louisiana. That's South Louisiana, the Port of New Orleans, and the Port of Baton Rouge. So with the growth that we're experiencing today, we're getting on the big stage where we are we're going to be in that top 5 tonnage port. And I think that's a huge win for Plaquemines Parish. That said, you know, we will continue to need to expand and to bring more construction workers, and it just goes back to the thought of how does our contractors handle you know, the accommodations for people coming and going. I think we're all feeling the traffic here in Belle Chase, particularly in the evenings. So what we've decided is to put a project manager in place under the ports contract and creating a CEA with the parish because we're all pretty tight in terms of resources. And however we do this, whatever we do, and we haven't made any decisions yet, but the port will be working very closely with the parish to find, you know, very creative solutions to figuring out where it would make sense to put RV parks, where it would not make sense, and then help us to streamline the process for making it happen. And more importantly, looking at all of the permitted RV parks, including personal, homes where they may have a couple of slots available for RVs, and putting them, helping to market, you know, those opportunities as well, so that you know, we're working together collectively as a parish and a port, you know, to make everybody whole. The ferry, moving on to the ferry, you know, we're completing the evaluation, and we're developing a pretty comprehensive report. I can tell you that we did receive an estimate to replace the Point Lahash ferry ramp. High order magnitude is about $6.8 million. That's a full rebuild, including the barge. We are in discussions with DOTD. DOTD is planning to put out an RFP for contractors to design that ramp. We have one of our professional service engineers, Infinity Engineering, involved with us, who will work with DOTD. You know, one of the things that we have already identified is that the East Bank ramp cannot be ignored. So we are going to be looking at actually, you know, replacing both sides, both the East and the West Bank side. And we think that that's important because, I mean, both sides are in the same state of disrepair, and we want to put a world-class platform in. We still have some decisions to make on how we're going to move forward, how we're going to get the funding. We are in the process right now of filing for 2 grants, ferry-related grants, and we are focused on those grants, on making sure that we come up with the funding for both the East and the West Bank. So we continue that progress. SP, the SP contract that's up for a vote today, we talked about it at executive session. The port staff, we feel very comfortable that we've unraveled the contract that was a issue last year, and we've put it back together. It took a lot of work from myself and you know, 4 attorneys, but we are very happy with what we put together. And we believe that we are ready to move forward as we discussed in executive session. In terms of meetings, important meetings that I think is important for the council to know, that we did host a meeting with Jefferson Parish last week on the Peters Road rail bypass. It was a very good meeting. We had the mayor of Gretna there. We had the chief operating officer of Jefferson Parish there. We had our co-chairman, Mr. Brian Champagne, there. We had the Union Pacific. We had the New Orleans Gulf Coast. I think we're aligning all of the right players, and it's important for us to all understand that Jefferson Parish is focused on creating that rail bypass no matter what happens in Plaquemines Parish. So the fact that we're at the table working with them, we're really being received well. We left that meeting with a couple of takeaways. One of them was to find a pathway to getting to 30% design of that rail bypass, and that's going to include creating a CEA with Plaquemines Parish, the Port, and Jefferson Parish. The other thing that was important that we walked away with is we decided it was time to pull Regional Planning Commission back in and DOTD, the Office of Multimodal. So they've already been invited and accepted the invitation to attend the next meeting. So I'm excited about this because, any growth that we want to have here in the port, it really depends on what we do with that bypass. So we're definitely working hard, with Jefferson Parish to make that happen. We met with Colonel Jones with the Corps of Engineers this week, and we gave an overview of the growth that we're experiencing here in the port. We shared 11 port-related permit projects that we have going. High-level summary, we talked about, what the growth looks like. We talked about, obviously, the additional construction workers coming in. I think we were received very well, and we're looking for ways to make sure that we're working closer with the Corps of Engineers to keep, our permitting processes and other processes moving quickly. In addition, we did have our monthly port construction meeting on yesterday. This is a meeting that we've put together, and it's really focused on public safety. But under the statute for the port, it talks about the port is really responsible for port-related, construction projects. And I think we're all pretty familiar with the amount of dump trucks that are moving in and around the Venture Global site, the on-site concrete site, the Fieldway site, and we're having this coordination meeting, and it's the third one, and each one we're actually getting more and more traction, more and more involvement. There's a lot of cross-communication, and again, the idea is to focus on public safety and make sure that all of the contractors, that we're all talking, and that we're doing whatever we can do to keep those trucks operating in a safe manner. We had some representation at the American Association of Port Authorities meeting this month. Ms. False and Ms. Nielsen represented us in San Pedro, California, and we got back a lot of really good information, some good contacts to help us, as we're on our path. We also attended the Ports Association of Louisiana meeting. Ms. False attended that. There's a lot of discussion in that meeting about what's happening with the legislation, and we were there making sure that Plaquemines' position was well known as well. And then in addition, we had multiple partner meetings, over the past 2 weeks. On the human resource side, we continue to seek some critical positions. We did hire a director of communications. We have a couple of other critical positions, and then we have multiple positions with the ferries and the rescue boats that we're continuing to hire on. And then the last thing, on the community side, we participated in a town hall meeting in Jesuit Bend last night. A lot of good issues came out of that meeting. And, this is the 5th town hall meeting since I've been here. And I tell you, one of our core values is to support the parish and the communities. And, each one of these town hall meetings, I walked away with a different sense of what was very important to that community. And I feel, after being here for 6 months now and meeting on the East Bank, meeting in Port Sulphur, meeting in Belle Chase, meeting in Jesuit Bend, that I'm really starting to get, a good understanding of how the community, how the parish feels about the port. And I think that's important because as a Port Authority, we have to make sure that we're doing the socially conscious thing to continue supporting the parish. With that, thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Director Tillerson. All right. Commissioner Schultz? I did.
Okay. Can you update us with the mid-year budget? What's the new date and time? I know we got emails back and forth, so.
That's correct. So I think the new date is the 20th. It's July. It changed because we will be finishing our audit on the 30th, and what we wanted to do was make sure we gave ourselves a little buffer between finishing the audit and going into the mid-year budget review. Well, I sent the email suggesting this 2 weeks ago, and I mean, if that date is a problem, we can try to adjust that date. I mean, what I'm really trying to do is build in a contingency. We believe that we will be finished on the 30th, but that's right before the 4th of July weekend, and we just want to make sure that we're completely prepared, where the port staff has the ability to sit down and make any adjustments that we have to make after we finish our audit.
Go. Councilman LaFrance?
Yes.
Got it?
Hello, yeah. I would like to thank you for that report. I would ask anytime this item come up, the Alliance Water Booster Station, that we get with the parish president and ask that we would have Robert Morgan present with, what's the name of the company? Infomark.
Infomark.
Yeah, yeah. And also, the next time y'all have that construction committee meeting, could I please be invited?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Commissioner Newsom? Edwards, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I want to go back to understanding the ferry. You say it was completed, and I heard you say 6.8 million, but it seemed like you came back. So that 6.8 million include the east and the west bank total?
No.
That's what I thought.
It includes the west bank only, so that's a full, taking the whole ramp out, putting a new ramp in with a new barge.
So why wasn't the east bank total, why wasn't both total did at the same time?
Well, that's a question for DOTD. The letter that we received on January 25th only condemned the east bank, but when we deployed Infinity to inspect the condemned west bank ramp, we sent them to the east bank and had them to give us a look, an assessment on that one as well.
Because
So-
the east bank that was condemned first, right?
No, I'm sorry, it was the west bank that was condemned.
Oh, okay.
Only the west bank.
All right. I can't hear you down
Yeah,
here.
you're not in the queue. Commissioner Newsom?
Yes, just I'm piggyback off of Councilman LaFrance. Do you have a footprint for that water booster station? Where's it going and stuff like that? Can
We
you
do.
just send it to the commissioners if you get a chance?
Absolutely. We can
Thank you.
definitely do that. And what I can tell you is we have worked very closely with Infomark. And so all of the cognizant parties are involved, and we'll make sure that we send those designs over.
Commissioner Schultz.
So for clarification, the 6.8 is for the East Bank, East Point,
West Bank, I'm
not
sorry.
according to the letter. The letter you sent is East Point Lahash Ferry Landing.
What letter?
Well, it says East Point Lahash
On what?
on the letter. That's why I'm confused. The East, it's saying East Bank, well, in the letter. Yeah, that's why I'm like, and the West Bank's in worse condition, I was.
It is the West Bank, but we've assessed both of them.
Correct, but the 6.8 is for
The 6.8 is for the West Bank, that is correct. The condemned ramp.
Okay, again, we'll talk after, but this letter says East Bank, and the pictures is of the East Bank,
Okay.
of the one that you sent the other day.
They assessed both. I may have sent the wrong letter.
Okay,
And that's why I asked the question I asked.
Okay.
that's why I'm now confused too, so, okay.
Any other questions? Yeah.
For bids and advertisements, there are none. 5, introduction of ordinances and resolutions.
We have 3 introductions. They're all for Councilmember Champagne. A resolution authorizing Charles D. Tillotson, Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, in accordance with the guidelines set forth by DOTD, to allow Kyle and Associates LLC to provide with advertising for competitive bids to provide upgrades to the Alliance Water Booster Station and feed lines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing Charles Tillotson, Executive Director of Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to purchase land owned by Hussam Odea, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend and as amended readopt Plaquemines Parish Code of Ordinances, Article 2, Chapter 3, members of Plaquemines Parish Council as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, conduct of business by creating Rules 17E1 and E2, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And that is it.
6, ordinances and resolutions on second reading and final passage. 6A, ordinances and public hearings pursuant to Article 6, Section 601E of the Plaquemines Parish Charter. 6A1, an ordinance authorizing Charles Tillotson, Executive Director of Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to purchase land owned by Edgar Guillermo Lumbreras, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Commissioner Champagne.
I offer.
Second.
And essentially, as Mr. Tillotson touched on earlier when he discussed the piano keys, this is a continued effort to acquire lots in Point Celeste.
Could you please give the amount number before Mr. Henry comes?
Yes, the amount number for that lot is $199,200 for Lot 11.
Can you repeat that again?
$199,200 for Lot 11. Did I get a second?
Yeah, I second.
Okay, second. Any comments from the floor? See here none. Comments from commissioners? Machine's open. And the ordinance passes 8-0.
6A2, an ordinance authorizing Charles Tillotson, Executive Director of Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to purchase land owned by Michelle C. Posey and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Commissioner Champagne.
So offered.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner LaFrance. And again, this is another acquisition of one of the piano keys for the cost of $186,000 for Lot 52B. That's $186,000. Any comments from the floor? Commissioners? Commissioner Newsom.
Just one question. Who's doing it? We getting appraisals? Who's doing these appraisals?
We have have 4 different appraisers that will go in and do the different appraisals for each of these properties.
Okay.
Any other comments from the commissioners? Machine's open. And the ordinance passes 8-0.
6B, a resolution authorizing Charles Tilton, Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to execute an agreement with sustainability partners and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
This is offered by Commissioner Edwards on behalf of Commissioner Gui. Have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Newsom. Again, this is to execute a mutually agreed upon amended contract agreement between sustainability partners and the port, as recently discussed, part of it with the dismissal of the declaratory judgment. Any comments from the floor? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Donald Valley, 109 Nancy Court. Is proposed contract available?
Mike, can you put his mic on? Mic's not on. It's not on.
Yeah.
You good?
Let me know, Jim. Okay. Donald Valley, 109 Nancy Court. Is the proposed contract available to the public?
That's I don't know at this time, but I suspect it will be. I will get that answer for you, sir.
Okay. Where could we find it?
I don't have an answer for you yet, but I will find out. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. I suggest we not take any action on it until the public gets a chance to look at it.
Thank you, sir.
Arthur Henry, Bell Chase. Okay, since probably can't see the contract, could some highlights of the contract be discussed?
Mr. Henry?
We don't have information on it, so.
No, our intent is not any subterfuge or deception. Obviously, we would make anything available because it is for public record. So I can't tell you where it is now, but I will find out that answer for you, sir.
So could we have some highlights of the contract discussed to the public then? Because you do the contract where the public have no knowledge of.
Again, we'll make that available, and we'll make that public record.
So you're not going to do it. So you're not going to have any highlights of the contract.
No, what
Say it to the public.
I'm saying,
For the public.
Mr. Henry, this is not a question and answer session.
I understand
This is an
that.
opportunity for you to express your comments. We take them into consideration,
And that's what,
and we move forward.
all I'm asking is, if the public could have highlights of the contract. That's all I'm asking. Now, you as the chairman could say yes or no to the people.
Yes.
So can I have some highlights of the contract?
I don't have them at my fingertips now. The contract is over, if I'm correct, over 1,000 pages long. So we'll make them public.
But I understand. So you're going to vote on something where the public have no knowledge of. This is outrageous, man. This is outrageous. The public should have knowledge of it.
Thank you, Mr. Henry.
Yeah.
Commissioner McCarty?
After the public comment, we will make available a summary of the contract before we vote on it. According to Danny.
Huh?
Any other comments from the floor? Roger.
You can tell us.
Yeah, no.
Just-
Can we defer this till later when we get
No, I don't think you can. You can't.
Yeah, we need to table this we need to table this for further discussion. Because I agree with the public. This is public information, and you're right. This is an extensive contract, and I don't want to sit here and do something that the public is not informed on, and that's our responsibility as commissioners. So all your comments were valid. The problem I have is, do I have it at my fingertips? No, I do not. It's a thick contract, and to say I have something ready to give to you would be an injustice because it's too thick. It's like reading the yellow pages, and I don't want you to do that. So we need to have some high-level comments, an abstract or an executive summary for you to look at. We do owe you that. We have one that we looked at, but we still have to digest it. So, my recommendation now is going to be for the council to defer this, or commissioners to defer this, so we can further digest this and
May I
make an
a
informed
suggestion?
decision.
Yeah, let me
Yes.
make a suggestion. We created an executive summary and a digest. What I would propose is, let me make some adjustment to that, and then we provide that to the public. I think the real highlights is we agree that we have a concession agreement. We understand exactly what the terms are, and what we're voting for, what's on the agenda is to complete the permitting of that project only. That's it. It's not going anywhere past that. It is to complete the permitting process, and what the port will get in return as an asset is the intellectual property that will belong to the port, and then the port will be able to decide from there on if it wants to move forward or how it wants to move forward, with approval from the council. So we're more than 50%, complete with finishing the intellectual property, and what we're talking about doing is just finishing the permitting. That's all this is.
Commissioner, you cannot, according to Rule 18, you get one opportunity to speak on an issue. You've had your opportunity. Anyone else from the floor is welcome to speak. Ms. LaHaye. It's a violation of Rule 18.
I'll make a motion to let him speak again. If somebody wants to second it, we'll vote on it. We got to vote.
We have a motion to allow a violation, a change in Rule 18, which says any person shall be entitled to a reasonable hearing on any proposed ordinance or resolution. The person shall speak only once on the subject being discussed. So we have a motion to make an exception to Rule 18. Am I correct? Is that your motion? Do I have a second from Commissioner Edwards? Machine's open. The motion is passed, 6-2.
Mr. Chairman, and I'm not trying to be arbitrary, but this was a subject of major issues of where you all filed a lawsuit against this contractor previously. It went into deep litigation. You discussed it for a long time. You're back at negotiating, but the public doesn't know what you're doing and why the changes are. So please, before you all vote on anything, let the public be aware of what you're doing. I'm finished. Shortly.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. LaHaye, please state your name and your address, please.
Nancy LaHaye, 426 Planters Canal Road, Belchase, Louisiana. I just want to clarify a statement from Mr. Tillotson. My understanding is you all were going to vote on it. Then when you discussed to defer it, then now that it's deferred, he needs to make some changes before the public sees it. Did I understand correctly?
I would just clarify that, not make changes. There's information in there that is sensitive that we're not going to release to the public. So what my plan is to fix that, and we can put it in the Gazette put the comments in the Gazette so the public as a whole can see it at the same time. We're not hiding anything, but we, as we're, developing these projects for the port, there is sensitive information in some of our agreements that we must redact, that we can't just put out for anybody to look at because it can be used against the port.
Okay, that just doesn't set very well with me, but I'm one of many. So I just think that you were ready to vote on it today, but then now that you're discussing it and somebody wants to see the contract, now the contract has to be changed before the public can see it. I get some sensitive, but it still doesn't set well.
So I understand your concern, and Ms. LaHaye, and what I want to clarify, it's not to change anything in the agreement. It is to redact some of the sensitive information.
Okay.
That's it. It's just redact.
That the public doesn't really need to be, but is it anything that would change the public's opinion of the contract? That's my concern.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
And Ms. Lay, I think the real concern is here, this thing is the size of the Yellow Pages, and in order to put something out, we want to put something out that the public could truly look at and understand, not because it's voluminous. So to really redact this, I mean, not redact some sensitive stuff, but to make it where you can read it and understand it, put it in to just compress it, because it is a lot of just a lot of information that no one's going to sit down and read the Yellow Pages, but you would read an executive summary that summarizes the high points of what we're trying to do, and we truly want to get that out. So
And I
again,
agree,
that's
it's
some of
just
our
that-
reluctancy here, not move forward with letting the public see, but we don't want to give you something it's going to be a waste of your time to try to digest. We want something where you can sit down and read and go, I got it, I understand it.
Right.
And we truly want to do that. I know Mr. Tillotson's office makes himself available at all times, and, this isn't quite the forum to do it, but at any time, if anyone has questions, they can certainly call his office, explain it. One of the commissioners here would gladly explain it. But even for us, it's happening quick. As Mr. Tillotson has touched on before, things are moving quick with the port. We're trying to do the right thing. And for us, just this contract, it's a lot to digest. So we want to do the right thing. So again, don't interpret our reluctancy for putting out there as a lack of transparency. It's just, we want to get you the information that it's worth your time to read. I'm a reader, and I look at when he held up the contract in that room, I'm like, there's no way in heck I'm going to read that thing. So that's our point. Again, I hope I
Well,
answered
you
your
understand
question.
where I'm coming from. It's just been an issue with Sustainability Partners.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's why everybody now is listening, like, don't hold anything back because of the past. Only because of the past is why I asked. So hopefully you understand that.
Yes, I definitely understand, and I mean, what I'd like to offer is that we've spent the last 8 weeks with 4 attorneys really going through the contract. We've completely unraveled it. We've put it back together. We have an executive summary. What I'd like to be able to do is there are a few items in the executive summary that I would just like to redact.
I understand that.
And so I'd like to be able to offer up, 3 pages of here's what this deal is all about. Here's what it represents.
Just so it benefits us now
Yes.
and not them.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the floor? Commissioners? Commissioner Schultz?
Yes, I agree with what everybody's been saying. I mean, it's a large contract. I understand everybody's point that you want to redact certain stuff, but at the same time, we're asking for public comment before we vote on something, but they're not going to be able to see that executive or the summary until after we already voted. So then it's too late for them to really make a comment on anything, which it took us. I mean, I've looked at it, and we've all kind of looked at it and come to an understanding, but it took us 40 minutes in executive session to go over the changes. I agree with the public that this just looks bad, that we're giving somebody something to comment on after, but it's already been voted on, so when are they supposed to make a comment on our vote before we vote? You get what you see where the public's coming from. I see it from the other side. I mean, I understand as a commissioner that we got the information. We know what we're voting on. From my point of view, we're good to go. But it just, to me, no matter what we do, if we defer it, it falls off. So we need to reintroduce it. If we don't vote on it, that's my opinion on it. I don't know if we can get a quick summary written up and go over it before we vote or what. I know there's certain stuff. Again, it's a contract. I double checked with Mr. Garrett. There's certain stuff, even if they requested Freedom of Information Act for the contract, certain stuff will be redacted. So we can't just give the contract over for sensitivity. But can we get something for the public where they know what we're voting on? I mean, come on. I mean, you got to realize where this, especially with the past with this contract, that we were in a declaratory judgment dealing with this contract. All of a sudden, we're amending it with nobody seeing anything except for the commissioners and y'all. I yield.
Commissioner LaFrance?
Yes. I too agree with the public. I'll make the recommendation that we defer this item, give the opportunity of the public to look it over, and need be, if we need to call a special meeting, we'll just call a special meeting just to deal with the contract. Thank you.
Commissioner Newsom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'm not the opposite. Guys, this board up here, we've been in talks about this contract since, for a long time. Some here, some there. We finally got something put together. All I've asked of you guys, public, is to have some faith in these guys up here, and these guys and these girls, ladies. Please, we up here have your best interests at heart. We do. We're not going to make any decisions that hurts Plaquemines Port, Plaquemines Parish, or the people of Plaquemines Parish. I know it's a trust issue. This government and this had no trust issue. We're trying to build that. So we keep telling you guys, there's nothing that we're going to hide from you. We're going to put it all on the table and goes. But this is an extensive contract that Mr. Tillerson spoke of that. He spent 4 attorneys months on getting things together and trying to get it going. Time sensitive on this thing. People, communities, agencies are watching what we do. Believe me, I disagree. I think we need to move forward with this. These guys and gals up here on this board have had the information, spent 40 minutes in executive session. We've had conversation in there. For the most part, I think most folks, I am ready to move on it, and I would request we do that. With that, I yield.
Commissioner Edwards?
Well, I have a totally different take to Mr. Newsom. I think that what Mr. Arthur Henry said was adequate, is that just a summary of it. I think the public is entitled to a summary. I think if we want their trust, then how we get this trust is by just giving them a summary. Those things that sensitive, well, we can't give you now. We have taken breaks for a lot of stuff. We can take a break, take the sensitive things out of it, and he can say the summary of it just because we understand they got another party to this, and the other party haven't even agree upon it. So it's not by giving sensitive information, but at least give the public a little summary of what's happening, and I think they'll feel good for that. I don't want the public just totally trust me. I really don't, because I'm fallible, but I just think if they trust me to be accountable, what they're acting is accountability. Accountability is saying, just give us a summary and take out the sensitive stuff. So I'm not for just saying, the public got to trust us and move on. I'm not preferring delay it. I'm preferring to take it a break and allow the director time to take out those sensitive things out of it and give the public a summary. That's my take.
Thank you, Commissioner Edwards. I know, I sit up here and often get blinded by some of the things we do, and it takes people like Mr. Valet, Mr. Henry, Ms. LaHaye to remind me that, even though we sit here and we have the opportunity to review all this stuff, they do not. We work for the people. I agree with Commissioner LaFrance. I agree with Commissioner Schultz and Commissioner Edwards. I think that in this case, even though I think we've done all the right things, I think the most prudent thing to do, and to make sure that we have the trust of the people to show we do not have anything to hide, I think that since we got this executive summary literally today, I think there's an opportunity for the commission to go through there, do a high order redaction on some of the sensitive things and move forward, make it available. I don't think 2 weeks is going to affect the outcome of the development of this port, but I think what it does do is show that, as Commissioner Newsom said, we are up here doing the right thing and that we have earned your trust. Before I comment, I'll open again to Commissioner Schultz.
Again, if we do defer it, this falls off the agenda, so we'll have to revert back to introduction. So whoever makes that call, just remember.
Understood. Commissioner Newsom.
Mr. Tillotson, if that occurs, what does that put us in? What shape does that put us in? If it's,
Well, it's 4 weeks. It'll push us back 4 weeks.
2 weeks.
and what,
2 weeks.
Because we have to reintroduce it.
Reintroduce it today.
so it'd be it would be 2 weeks, but, so with the 2 weeks, what does that put us, does that?
No, I would prefer not to do that on this spot right now.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
let's just-
I mean, again,
Yep. All
okay. So
right, we're going to.
again, and back to, again, we've seen it. I understand asking for the trust of the people, but at the same time, because of the history of this contract, my feeling is if we do this, it just looks like we're not painting the complete picture. If this was a normal contract, then that's a little bit different, but because of the history behind the contract and what's going on with it, it just causes that perception. Not saying we're hiding anything, but the perception of our elected officials is key right now. I yield.
All right, these will be the last two comments, then we're going to move on this. Commissioner Edwards?
Yeah, and I'm like the director, so you're saying you're not willing to take a break and just, I'm not saying do a summary and just do a brief thing to folks on this piece. You're saying you're not prepared to even take a break
Well-
and do it, you prefer to defer?
Well, what I'm saying is that we've spent weeks with multiple attorneys, and what I would rather do is do it the right way and sit down and make sure that, you know, we have Ms. Falls take a look at it, we have Mr. Garrett take a look at it, and then we get it right. Because, you know, look, guys, we're on a competitive stage, and basically what you're saying, what you're asking, give your playbook out. And I want to make sure that we do that right, because it has an economic development impact on the port.
Commissioner Kognovich?
I could see Mr. Newsom's, side of it. We was elected to do this position, and the people should have enough confidence in us to make it, but I could see the public's point of view too. And y'all spent weeks or months renegotiating a deal, but we seen it 40 minutes ago. So I'm going to the only reason I was going to vote for it was Mr. Garrett, because I trust him. I was voting against it until he did what he did, said what he said. So I suggest we defer it and go to back to introductions, introduce it, and we vote on it next meeting.
I'll close with this comment. The trust of the people is too important for us to compromise. Mr. Tillotson, you got your staff has done wonderful work. My recommendation is going to be that we defer this and move forward. I think that in doing so, we will show the people that we have done a due diligence, that you have done so, but I think it's prudent that we show them that we have done our homework, that you guys have done your job. So my recommendation, and I make a motion that we defer this.
Well, he didn't introduce it.
That's true, I
Yeah.
forgot. I know I believe Councilmember Edwards needs to defer it because he offered it.
No. Councilman Edwards offered this on behalf of Commissioner Gui, who is not here today. So you'll have to make a recommendation to move forward or defer. You'll have to make that recommendation.
Well, before we do that, can I hear from our council and see what his take on it, Mr. Garrett?
If you withdraw the second, if you don't withdraw your second, it's just, yeah, I mean, I'm answering questions right now and I'm coming. Okay.
Am I on? Okay. Yeah, ultimately, whether y'all take it up clearly as a policy decision, but under the rules, if you do defer it, would have to be reintroduced, so you'd have to reintroduce it at this meeting so that you could vote on it at the next meeting. And I don't think it would necessarily, I mean, Mr. Champlain, you're chairing right now, you could reintroduce it and it could be heard at the next meeting, which would give the opportunity, because I do agree, under the public records law, there's certain things that ports redact out of public records from economic development issue. And you wouldn't want to run afoul of that. So that seems like probably maybe the most effective way to move forward.
So Commissioner Edwards. So I have a motion to defer about Commissioner Edwards. Do I have a second?
We just defer it. There's no offer and second of it. You want to, okay, yeah. So, okay. Mr. Chairman, would you like to go back to introductions now?
Yes.
Okay. Want me to read it right now? It's not moving.
5, introduction of ordinances and resolutions. A resolution authorizing Charles Tilton, Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to execute an agreement with sustainability partners and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. C will be withdrawn. 6D, a resolution authorizing Charles Tilton, Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to enter into a per-task order agreement identified as Task Order Number 2 for project management services with respect to the Sustainability Partners contract with Infinity Engineering on an as-needed per-task orders basis as directed by Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District Executive Director and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Commissioner Champagne.
So offered. Second by Commissioner Schultz. Commissioner Newsom. I know he's not. Hold on. This is, again, this is using Infinity Engineering to, on a per-needed task order basis to provide management services with respect to issues that they can focus on, because, Mr. Tillotson has commented, his staff's bandwidth is about used up, and we need to have people who can focus on these tasks. So we already have them. Working for us now, so it would just be an additional tasking. So Commissioner Schultz, yes. Yes.
May I make a recommendation to defer, because without the amended contract, there's nothing for them to do. So we can't really vote on this until the contract gets amended. Because this clearly says with sustainability partners.
I recommend we defer. Second by Commissioner McCarty. We don't need a second.
6E will be deferred. 6F, a resolution authorizing the Port Executive Director, Charles D. Tilton, for and on behalf of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to name and accept the proposal of the Plaquemines Gazette as the official journal for the Plaquemines Parish Council, as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Commissioner Champagne.
So offered. Second by Commissioner McCarty. And this ordinance is simply to make, this resolution is simply to make the Plaquemines Gazette our official journal of record. Any comments from the floor? Comments from the table? Machine's open. Oh. QN. Commissioner Edwards.
I'm voting no, and I know they got to vote for it, but I think that the Gazette could do much better in terms of their reporting, how to report the information. So, I would do the same thing when it comes to the council side of it. So I'm voting no. I just want to put that on the record.
Commissioner Newsom.
This legislation is not about reporting or taking pictures and stuff. This is a journal, legal documents that we come on this thing. So it's a reporting issue is something totally separate. So,
Commissioner McCarty.
I just want to point out that, to my knowledge, there is no other source. So,
Commissioner Kognovich.
She's right, there's no other source. We get a discount? But if you're given a discount, yeah. But if the state would pass a thing where we could use our own website, we could, but until then, we have to use the local newspaper.
Hello?
Please cite your
Norris
name and your address.
Babin, 114 Woodchase Street and Belchase. I'm co-publisher of the Plaquemines Gazette. Mr. Edwards, I'd be happy to meet with you and we could discuss what type of material you'd like to see or what you don't agree with. However, this measure it's got nothing to do with our reporting. The political process is sometimes politics gets involved and politicians feel that they shouldn't be paying to put something in the paper unless we write the correct way, and everybody's correct way is a little differently. So yes, you're right, it's a service for official journal. And Mr. Konovich, as far as the discount, the Press Association, of which I'm an active member of, we have worked diligently over this last year with the Police Juror Association and the LMA, and we actually passed legislation this session that will begin to transcend public notices, not just in papers, but online. It will end up with a discount on the sunset. It hasn't been signed by the governor yet. But the newspaper industry decided to work with LPJ and LMA and do something that will put it on good footing. The good thing about us continuing to use notices in newspapers is it's third party, verifiable, it's online, and if someone says they need a copy of something, someone's not providing them with a website or a web shot of something that they said was posted, but it can be something that's proven that it was published, so that public notices can continue in a verified method by a third party. So thank you for your vote of confidence. And yes, discounts may be coming, or at least not raises. But we are looking to move. There's just been an article written in the Publishers Auxiliary about what Louisiana is doing. So, we're not the old guard, or at least in my opinion, we're not. So we are looking at this realistically for the future moving forward. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Mr. Kognovich, you have any further comments? Commissioner Edwards?
Oh, no, and I understood that this was only making them the journal because it's the only journal we got, so we stuck like Chuck with them.
All right, move for a vote. Machines open. And the resolution passes 7-1, one abstention.
Seven, new business. We have no items under 7A. 8, approval of the May 25th, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
Motion for who? Ms. LaFrance, Council Commissioner LaFrance, seconded by Commissioner Schultz. Machine's open. Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Schultz. Seconded by Commissioner LaFrance. Machine's open. Let the record show that the meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Port Authority District ended at 4:50 PM.